Good evening and welcome to AJP. I'm here with your Northeast Asia market close for Thursday, June 25th. One memory chip earnings report set the tone for all of Asia today, but each market answered it in a completely different way. The single catalyst overnight was Micron. The US memory maker reported revenue more than quadrupling and profit up nearly 14-fold, and called memory a strategic asset of the artificial intelligence era. That one report rippled across three markets and revealed three very different engines underneath. In Korea, two giant chip stocks did almost all the work, while most of the rest of the market actually fell. In Japan, the entire semiconductor supply chain surged together in a broad, powerful rally. And in China, the headline index barely moved because its own chip stocks rose while its metal stocks were sold off hard, and the two roughly canceled out. One catalyst, three breadth signatures. That contrast is today's story. The KOSPI closed up more than 5% at around 8,930. But notice what happened during the day. The index punched back above 9,000 inches the morning and then faded under it by the close. It triggered a buy-side sidecar early, then gave some of that back. And here's the catch. Even with the index up 5%, the junior KOSDAQ market fell more than 2%. This was not a broad rally, it was two names. SK Hynix jumped around 13% to about 2 million, 917,000 won, roughly $1,890, riding the Micron read-through straight into its own high bandwidth memory story. Samsung Electronics rose nearly 6% to about 358,500 won, around $232. And SK Square, the holding company valued largely on its Hynix stake, gained more than 5% to about 1,899,000 won, near $1,230, as investors keep pricing in Hynix's planned US listing. The flow tells the real story. Foreign investors were net sellers of roughly 540 billion won. It was domestic institutions buying nearly 3.2 trillion won that drove the index. A handful of chip giants and institutional money, not broad participation, carried Korea today. On the surface, Shanghai did nothing. The composite closed up about 0.25% at around 4,120, almost flat. But that flat number hides a violent rotation underneath. China's domestic chip names rode the same Micron wave the rest of Asia did. SMIC, the country's leading foundry, rose around 3%. Cambricon, its flagship artificial intelligence accelerator designer, gained nearly 4%. This is China running its own chip trade domestic substitution, walled off from the global supply chain that lifts Korea and Japan, but lifted by the same demand signal. Pulling the other way, metals. Zijin Mining fell more than 6% as a sharp sell-off swept gold and minor metals names after the gold price spiked. So China today was two trades fighting each other to a draw, artificial intelligence up, strategic metals down. The flat close is not calm. It is balanced between two strong opposing forces. Japan had the cleanest version of the day's trade. The Nikkei 225 surged nearly 5% to around 72,366, and unlike Korea, the strength was broad across the chip equipment complex, not just one or two names. Tokyo Electron, the country's biggest chip equipment maker, rose nearly 8% to about 75,340 yen. It counts SK Hynix among its top customers, so Hynix's expansion plans read straight through to its order book. Advantest, which makes the testing machines that every memory chip passes through, soared around 15% to about 35,900 yen. And Kioxia, Japan's pure memory play and the most direct comparison to Micron, climbed more than 12% to about 103,850 yen. A weaker yen, hovering near 162 to the dollar, and the falling oil price as ships move freely through the Strait of Hormuz added to the lift. Japan bought the entire picks and shovels chain a vote that this is a durable build-out, not a one-day spike. So one Micron report, three answers. Korea's rally rests on two stocks and faded under 9,000 by the close. Japan's is broad and conviction-led. China's strength is hidden inside a flat number, with chips and metals at war. The open question now, is Korea's narrowness a warning, or just the early stage of a rally that Japan's breadth says still has room to run? We'll be back tomorrow to see whether Korea can hold 9,000 on more than two names, and whether China's chip trade can finally overpower its metals drag. Until then, Subscribe to stay with AJP for the close that matters across Northeast Asia. Thank you for watching AJP.